Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center. Welcome to 2025. Thank you all for being here. My name is Quentin Ring. I am Beyond Baroque's Executive Director, and we are here tonight to welcome the Wild Orchid Collective. Really thrilled to have them here as our first program of the year. Yes, please give it up. Holaday Mason, James Cushing, Celeste Goyer, and Adrian Baer. You can read all about them on your programs, but we're absolutely thrilled to have them. They're very good friends of Beyond Baroque. It's always a pleasure to host them in this space. But before we get started, I just want to say a few words. I wanted to start first by just acknowledging where we are with what's going on. We just came out of a really horrific fire. The fires are still going on. I know probably pretty much everybody in this room knows someone who was impacted, lost a house, and my heart and all of our hearts go out to everybody who lost houses and otherwise suffered through these recent fires. And so we're still very much recovering from that as a community. We will probably be organizing some events here, some fundraisers to support those who lost houses, and we'll also be sharing other fundraisers and other recovery efforts that are going on. So this was not intended to be the first program of the year. Originally, we did have to reschedule some, and so I think it is very nice for us to be able to be back together as a community and be able to see each other and hear some poetry and see art and be together. I also want to start by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence here on Tongva land. We very much acknowledge the wrong done to indigenous peoples through settler colonialism and the violent dispossession of their land. And as an arts organization, Beyond Baroque is very much committed to uplifting indigenous writers, communities, and their art. As many of you know, Beyond Baroque, we have been here since 1968. That makes us 57 years old this year, somewhat remarkably. But we exist to nurture the literary arts, and we do that through a set of programs, including our Wednesday night poetry workshop, which has been running continuously since 1969. We have a Monday night fiction workshop as well. We have a reading and performance series right here in this theater. We got some really great programs coming up, including readings with Nancy Miller-Gomez, Linda Crawford, and Lynn Thompson, a set of readings from Mobile Data Mag, And we have coming up as well, reading with Cecilia Wallach and Harry Northrup, who's here in the audience as well. That was supposed to be this week. It will be January 30th instead. Yeah, we also have regular intensive workshops. Check out our website for those. They'll be coming up later in the year. And just we also typically have an art exhibition open as well. That was postponed due to the fires. But Ansel Kroot, who is a Dutch artist, will be here to open his show on February 1st in the Mike Kelly Gallery upstairs. So lots going on. But if you do enjoy the show tonight, if you appreciate what we do, I would love to ask you to consider becoming a member of Beyond Baroque if you are not one already. It costs as little as $60 if you're a senior, $75 is our foundation membership. It comes with discounts in the bookstore, discounts on our intensive workshops, and it also gets you into events for free. This event this evening is free. However, Beyond Baroque will be charging for most of its events this year as a regular admission. We tried to keep them free as long as possible following the pandemic. That's increasingly hard to do, so we will be charging. But if you are a member of Beyond Baroque, you will continue to get into our events for free. And so there is a really nice incentive to that. So please do become one if you aren't. If you're renewed, thank you. And thank you for everyone who contributed and bought memberships at the end of last year. I think we ended up raising more money than we ever have before from our end of the year campaign. So I'm very grateful to all of you. I think that's about it. I'm just very grateful to staff, and I'm particularly grateful to the Wild Orchid Collective, who are some of my favorite people on this earth. And so without further ado, let's welcome them to the stage. Thanks so much.
Now, how do you interpret this dream of this dream of?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We dedicate tonight's readings to the memory of David Lynch and to Los Angeles residents impacted by the fires. Brightness is back. Brightness is back, a terrarium for air previously locked away in basements. I'm doing my best to avoid breathing it until it dries, grows up, and moves out. Brightness is back to join me in wondering why no one trembles at bedrooms, those terrariums of marriage, where the legend of underground flowers takes over new ears on our shoulders. It's past time you thought carefully about this whole enterprise. Drums and guitars will soon roll downhill, our souls locked inside. The analyst's desire. A person with my name made decisions resulting in situations, and here I stand. We have slapped together a passable chocolate cake from all this mud, the team of girls with my name, plus me, the temporary captain. So, should we now unsift the flour, or proceed with the party? Work with the material, she said. But the whales seem happy enough, hovering above the quivering, layered silt. Dear analyst, you see, I varnished my materials into a still life with lemons, silver butter knives, and ponderous lilacs. Unreliable but fast, British motorcycles ran over my materials, and they're flat now, troubling no one. The news said some drowned in the California aqueduct while trying to fish out a new father. Need I say more? Don't keep bait fish near the ice cubes in the freezer. The greatest cello players ever are, well, birds. Do we have to wake them up too? Material, she said. But I'm tired now. My materials slowly erase a Japanese drawing of mountains stacked in fog. The blonde hostess shares cake. The shoes of our guests mysteriously polish themselves. It's that kind of life, with a relative autonomy that could pass for Zen. The goal for years was an ironed shirt. Work with your material, she said. Drag it through a pinhole by your teeth into some kind of focus. But my materials consist only of 2 of the 14 stations of the cross. I walked out between Jesus claims his cross and Jesus disappoints his sorrowful mother. In the style of falling. For a long time, I wanted the good stuff. I was a woman of style, a stick with a past. Oh, I was fancy, backlit by gold coins, little taxi cabs in my lap. I remember being cut by love. I remember the whole show, the jagged steps, the grinding, the falling. Now I have a machine that makes cake. I'm the cake lady. I sit and wait among the roast beef-shaped men for the 50-cent payoff, for the plain monkey to be delivered. I recommend them. They spin in the wind just as well. Where the light shines all year long. The weeping town of Rob spins on a plastered finger, with restored carvings of antique lace cuffs glowing in the sunlight, and a 2-mile-long cloud of shame boardwalk. It spins, slowly. From the city of Rob, a gypsum finger points to the ground and the sea twice a year. Bored, visitors place long magnets between sunset's old light and the shame of 1,000 years. In every season, Rob, the embroidered night dress, admires itself in miles of spectacular, innocent beaches. The beach whispers to one and all, you can fix the daylight and adorn yourself. You can sing every song as a lullaby. Rob's finger protects a lot of foggy gray animals. To see a little of this show, stay up with me until 2. You'll see the world lurch, distorting clouds of gray whales as they squint past the burnished coastline. Kneeling offshore, they send up a fanfare of sympathy. You'll witness a passionate velvet bench sweating, leaning out over the waves, calling to the souls of 1,000 fish, Your feet are wonderful. A white ripple rises up. My first courage lost its hardness. I can't be home alone with my childhood. Rabbits and parents know this. Someone's coming to evict them. But so long, we all go somewhere. A vibration or a wave ending, a serrated fort carving us into its apparatus of questions that swerve, that dissent from our endeavor. Stay with me and say yes until the end. Expect a lot of cold when the river goes elsewhere to take part in something new. But the forest that is cut down, let it first be heard. The last raised eyebrow. When we were children looking for a good hiding place to turn flesh into honey, Saturday evenings reeled out from afternoon's river, coppery and full of animals whose fur was wetness rushing toward a brink. I placed my finger on the red plastic sun to slow it down, looked around for a safety pin. An eyebrow's a kind of bridge between thoughts, a rind rocking in an attic, a brindled wolf looking up at a cloud, wanting something. Our city's in the clear. Our river's a beautiful place. Look at the buses we've added to it. Their silver faces in the morning, so hopeful, then dark by evening and finished. With the water behind her, the mayor naps with a lemon cake before begging for release from her duties. Audiences on snow skis carefully watch icicles form, each new icicle a vitrine full of sketchy black branches hunched over the outlines of frozen ponds. Our faithful visitors nearby, emptying a farmer's postcard. Tomorrow he'll spend his money downtown on sand and ropes. For this perishable winter evening, we've laid on rabbits and a good golden whiskey to fill our single weighted bell, just killing time until the mud of the provinces goes off sliding with another boy. The year the Queen abdicated. Some years have zippers, others trapdoors. Beware the years wearing a raincoat over a full slip. Years made of mud and half-buried Scotch bottles. Like that one year, do you remember? The year the peat bog explained itself, and we gave up exercise and money. Remember how we slept with photos on copper plates that year, but not with men? The year we replaced laws with beeswax. The same year our bookish queen wore men's shoes and never combed her hair, and then ran away to Italy to hide under the droopy wings of popes for what turned out to be forever, proving once again that alchemy, religion, and mathematics should never be mixed. The year we all won bronze plaques because that was the best that people could think to do for each other. I remember we were quite busy that year with all the looting of closets, with fire and its excuses for being early. Waiting for the pillow to fall. Inside the stomach, a married child does research. Inside the stomach, a long blue note found under the sand. We're running out of sand. Inside the stomach, those who left the house destroyed. Inside the stomach, a quiet ears pyramid of months. Inside the stomach, a game room without shadow. Inside the stomach, it's winter, and every child will find a job. Inside the stomach, background. Inside the stomach, no reason to talk. The promise comes attached to the glass. here we have to eat grass. Lovers and devotees waited on shore, hoping for fur hats from the wreck. But nothing was found in the rooms of the old ship but blue shadows. The absurd pride of such hats is real, the ease of connection one feels wearing them, even though the head is sweating. For once, you are not alone, whatever the cost. I remember a brown bear pointing to the waves. I was the last one of my father's sons to live a bear's life, he said. Here, my sons have to eat grass. The lovers had many stories and many job titles. I heard them all, waiting there in the thin layers of morning. They come back to me like white snow on a white door. In the hallway of records, waiting in line, I examine my inability to wait completely, with true commitment to indefinite delay. This talent for waiting is what ants have instead of hearts. The record keepers say, each great person has an ant waiting to carry their corpse away in its jaws. Outside, mountains erode visibly, like pyramids made of down escalators. I see my friends up there, tiny specks. Down here, I defend my territory while I've got it. Sprinkle the corners with salt, lime, and soda. The rocks say, don't make me crush you. I live in hope of never knowing the inner lives of things, the mountain and planet names used to curse me. The same old footnote about the rose bush. At the back of your garden, the grass wore a loose, embarrassed look, full of forgotten objects. I need you, they called, too far away to be heard. A close relative cut off his bloody tail, kept it in an old newspaper. It's normal in your family. Parts of the old body are removed by the sick. Close friendships form, then the wind eats them, plants clover and grass. Creating a quiet island requires a lot of skill. Beneath it, dry skin awaits the hammer. Who doesn't think they paid to be satisfied? You tried to pay a small amount in pine needles to your specialist after 12 years in therapy. You accepted a dream from him about an old woman and then didn't dream it. Quiet, be careful. At the end of each page waits her old pink name. Taped to a piano. We keep forgetting that classrooms are full of natural radios. When we remember, this awful cold wind stops, and the German-made constellations take off and fold their tissue paper costumes. Fathers, don't ask how we improve the comfort of the forest with all its spirits. It's an old machine that fills the sea. For the old people, there are old microphones. The sound they make is B-flat. The death rattle, which isn't really a rattle, is also B-flat.
I opened our culture's big epic, turned to the first page. It told the story of a family's travels west. It skipped over all the years I lived with them in one single phrase. So I closed that epic, and I started my own, called How I Got So Ugly. You helped me finish the final draft. I'm still grateful, despite the uneven passages and the tacked-on ending. But if only someone would read it. Machines take up so much of our time now, I don't think anyone has a moment for my epic. Well, that's all right. Look at the sky. The blue space behind the buildings and trees is a new David Bowie album. There's a breeze like a splash of milk in a cocktail. How can I be ugly under such a sky? I need connection with a thing that flutters, but this body keeps me blocked, still, overwhelmed. Dark rain clouds hang low and heavy. There is no sun. Yet we see our future waiting in some deep shadow, a symbol that covers. At first, food tastes black and tarry, and as fish snatch flies from shadows, I find all my windows tightly closed, invincible. The winter air turns into a guess. The murky delay between learning and using what was learned also serves to shrink any available openings, blocking most routes of escape, even the one I was counting on, the stairs behind the bedroom to the roof, where I hear my parents talking about me as if I weren't anywhere around. Hanging traffic lights change down on our street, green, yellow, red, like big bugs. I looked up some number I thought would help me get past the thick windows between us, and I called it. Nothing. Only more rocks mixed with sand and silt, waiting for rain. Beyond our street, where the rocks waited, men discussed rice, and speech balloons above their heads looked isolated, like bright lights behind a thick black curtain. The men looked up toward me, holding their pipes. I began to itch. I look back at these chapters of my epic with a cool eye, because a slice of bread is not a meal, and blushing is not consent. Although you would never have known it from the way the freezing wind came down from the mountain to create shenanigans that developed into main currents of thought and feeling that ran through my epic like fat through meat, stopping the north winds, never flinching from them. When the ripples of song send their big hug out to us, I hope our red hands will be out of our mouths. I hope we can flirt with constellations, sheer granite cliffs, a mirror that returns every gesture with a blurry gape of its own. I must return to the snow, the chilled walls of cream everywhere, a light wind in the branches. I stood at my mother's kitchen door, smelling coffee and closing my eyes. I began itching. A mild breath at first, then a point of fire starts glowing inside the skin on my back, then stretches and sears down along my spine. But there was nothing I could do. I could barely move, let alone escape downstairs to the street where I could rub up against the building's stucco walls like a bear. I could tell the wind was fresh and full there too, with flying leaves and twigs that would pummel me for no reason. A rumble, then a louder rumble, then a crackling sound. Something in or under the building had given way, and the door to the staircase fell off its hinges. I ran down through clouds of plaster and dust. An earthquake? And over some broken masonry and furniture into the smoky, dazed street. I recognized the setting from film noir. The corner of Vermont and Franklin, Double Indemnity, Walter Neff dropping off Lola Diedrichson so she can meet her secret lover, Nino Zacchetti. I watched Walter Neff drive south through smoke, watched Lola and Nino argue as they walked east into a gray cloud toward Hillhurst, and I said to myself, "Wait!" This scene is in high-definition digital color. Some of the characters are 3D, but I'm wearing the same kind of suit, tie, and hat as all the other men. And the Los Feliz sidewalk goes slick with water. I look at my reflection, then peer harder at it. My eyes seem to inhale all light from the puddle. I have only my story to tell, but it may also be yours, and so I tell it again and again. I tell it because we are footfalls, and our path through the world is divided into nature and falsehood. In both, the image of a human hand sweetens the murmur of pipes, darkens the thought of fruit. At times, this hand becomes a foot, tracking mud through a house in a city named after a fruit. And sometimes it finds itself out on the sidewalk with a bottle and some men, feeling tiny and stellar, ready to paint the trees and their long, hungry roots where the eye likes to stay, to relish them. In that meandering part of the country, women speak to one another with calm, knowing voices, while airplanes roar in low. The words are swimmers, breaststroking through the heavy air, the air we smell and the air we touch, the air that creaks like a door to a scary attic. The letter that was written to be sent through that air, pushing and creaking, is the one they wrote to us with their voices. The one I tried to write to you, nothing could have prepared me for what it cost. Every voice I could think up, plus a decade of reading and listening, 2 decades tossing coins, and no one is surprised. The biggest pieces have been in place for a while, and they look rightly fit to their space here. Not that no other space is possible, but the way from piece to piece looks clear, even inevitable. The path marked by a set of quick turns, taken too many years ago to change now, or even see clearly, memory being what it is. The music accompanying this view feels cool to the touch. It wakes me up like a child's request, and my chest flutters. I breathe in the world's beautiful indifference to our humming, buzzing, and sneering, and the pauses between them. All the feelings we can muster have turned to claymation animals, and I don't know whether to keep napping or laugh. I wear the crown either way. I've become parent to the dirt I once stood on, and I yearn to plant vegetables and flowers, but knowing nothing of gardening, I can only watch the yard grow scary with weeds. They've sculpted green iron, and they have defeated me and my tribe. The moon has started to rise in step-by-step, stealthy ways, but its local meaning no longer satisfies, and the stars surrounding her surprise us with their limited range. Come on, there's no use complaining. The music's decent, and we both got the educations we deserved, complete with specialized vocabularies and a warning. You can see your value in your pants. The ceiling might as well have opened to reveal an anonymous vessel ready to load passengers on one-way trips to outer space. I had eaten nothing for hours, but suddenly tasted salt, oil, vinegar, vanilla ice cream, all in a calm, orderly sequence. Vitamin-rich light spilled all over the hall. Such an afternoon leads to such evenings, which must be betrayed by the nights and mornings that follow. I will forever be next to get entangled in the family ties of our heroes and wind up doing labor under such bursting skies as these, looking back on what has already started its long way down the rabbit hole. If I fall down, I'll climb back up, I told myself, and I did that, more or less. The climb took 5 absorbing years if you count a certain way, and every day involved selection and calibrated interrogations between smoke and the one tiny dot in our universe that represents, you know what it represents. One day we reached it, one insecure day we never thought we'd find. We would feel grateful that day, even to the wind-blown litter, even to the wintry dog ground, to the 6 a.m. dog, to the peanut butter crusts. And we cherished the face that said freedom was no longer our problem. The map in the sky guided us into a privacy we never imagined. Each time I had ever tried thinking the whole picture, I surrendered the question to a set of smaller pictures and found garments there that fit me. My lover was my boss. It was simple, and my independent status and my body both stumbled there. We intended a successful run. By the end of the quarter, there were still long blanks in the solo, and we forced ourselves to smile. Sunlight moved across window glass, splashing. Every October, we'd felt stuck between the season and its words, without any clear motive toward the road. And what remained after the road went to bed, its back turned to the place and facts and faces. Every April, we'd watched young actors make guesses, and in July, heat held us in its design as though it wanted to save us. I was a lonely clarinet. You were a section of cellos. Hungry stoplights turned non-standard colors, fighting interior demons, closing their eyes and giving in to the dark. I could tell by your expression you were fierce with an olive branch. My address was almost you. But noticing each part of the life we were cobbling into place made our toes even harder to see. And that, finally, kept us from turning into chameleons. On the street, discussion turned from rice to kale. We knew what made us anxious, and at the moment we told each other, a shield came down and altered the whole history of the house. We smelled roast goose. I turned my hourglass over and listened for the flame my parents pushed against a hotel wall just in time. Pink ripples in the sky. They started vanishing like rainbows while staying wholly true, like an old friend who reminds you of a stream. It's a long way past any kind of breeze. The weather retains its disturbing potential to remain unidentified as the sun rises and wild animals trot across distractions to food and a nap. But I can't lose focus on the lesson we still seem to be learning, the lesson we exist within. The world was a confining pain to one girl, and her crying turned us into one big wilted bouquet. We all sensed that a toxin had seeped into the world. Some of us remembered the oldest method of falling asleep. You stay up as late as you can, a cymbal rings, and you're suddenly in the other place. I told them I would try it, but I didn't ask them how one distinguishes the sound of the cymbal from, say, an aluminum can some angry man has decided to hit with a stick. For reasons that fit no stable position in the timeline, we made careers out of what our school gave us. In one case, a diagram to memorize for a reward. I was not in the diagram, and that started our small world's first problem.
And both of us saw tiny spears of violets. He is red ripples on the gentle hills, undulations of antique vistas, a sky of winter, an almost spring sky, next season, then to the next. We might lose our way, may fail, but we're going anyhow toward poppies cascaded over the castings of the hills, as if smeared, as if scattered. Moments you can't make up. I never had sweet dreams, but this one is. And sure, I know one should not remove the wooden stake from the frozen heart. We're risking total collapse, but fuck it, we do it anyhow. Threads of violets released from the throats of all involved in a kind of howling that's bearable, as if a curse has been lifted. Not everything has to be lovely, yet this is. There is ruby all over the landscape. We could be anywhere. It doesn't matter who thinks what. We're home because we wake up and we say so. Antique vistas smear all the hills. We could be anywhere, but we're going anyhow, howling. The room overflowing with tulips. After we burned the Christmas tree dangerously close to the house, after the New Year, when the neighbor was delivering foil-wrapped seasonal chocolates, root-infused teas for chronic pain, after your children grew limbs of silence that broke off, when adornments, glued heirlooms, glass birds, and window angels were wrapped and carefully stored, when we realized your children would never call, we buried the masks. We buried 3 more. We conducted the amputations. The dulled hatchet we used on the tree got lost in the grass. We hand wrote instructions on building amulets, used the correct poisons to kill off the useless. We translated the vague jazz of sorrow, and you covered me where I lay, and I covered you where you lay. The hours everywhere, tulips everywhere. We buried the masks, glass angels everywhere, wrote instructions on chronic pain. No one dreams we are on fire. Alive and cold, wet grass and stones on our feet, we take up our journals of smoke. Another war because someone wants what others have. Snakes shimmer up my arms as I try by firelight to resume the exam of living in the face of so much gore. Someone wants to paint the stars black. None of us can correctly imagine what another's life is like. Even thousands of miles away, the trees smell blood. They try to warn us. The chronicles stammer on. The day, the date, the year, the last of the moon lies on her back, tethered helplessly to the sun. Our outlines smear into each other. Your hands are made of every husband's. Clasped together, our hands are made of everyone. The trees smell blood. The journals of smoke stammer onto the last of the moon. A liturgy of air. And somewhere the sound of rain. And always the human body with its pain, inevitable, pure, knitting us together. Listen, the ache is vermilion, a pliant drum. Listen, it's partly cloudy and lifting. Think blue heaven. Each moment is true, false. Before becomes after. Pass your hand between the two. Neither is a lesser thing. Now the city is a thick field of fog. This is the meeting place of animals. Night is a mandala of breaking glass, passing cars, waves. Anyone can say you don't deserve love, even a friend. Anyone might say anything. More breaking glass, more rainfall. The clock says, the place, the designs, they're all dreams. Think of me sometimes. Extinction, the woman in the box. I am the woman in the box. The woman in the box is speaking. I hear a staircase to an old season. The archives are a red neon door left in blankets of dreamy ficus tangles. I am the woman with the claws. My belly is made of 10 folded stories too big to fit in a box. Even truths can be frozen by narrow judgments. Wednesday, leaf hornets crack the glass, fascinated by their own mirages. I am the woman who does not want to plod up to see the dead oaks, their trunks collapsing, or watch the canyons erode while coyotes run the middle line of sunset, bristling with irate thirst. I am the woman who is not hidden anymore in a tent that doesn't fully protect from stinging ants. In a recording, a modern Buddha says, all life is shiny, a little plastic toy you better not step on. In the dark, I speak out loud, ask how long my heart intends to beat, ask, what did we do? What do we do? 10 folded stories crack the glass, fascinated by their own mirages. In a recording, I speak out loud, irate and not hidden anymore. Monster considered. Thinking of God or something down here on the ground, I admit there is a monster in me. She lives in the dank, under layers of silt, sloughed from untended years like old skin, petrified, surrounded by choirs of porcelain figurines, little tableaus of memories and ambitions, a company of still lives, perfect as a stage set inside a snow globe, the collected works of parasols, flounced hoop skirts, hiding the handiwork of time, and under those lace dreams, a white burial mound I can touch. Flocks of tattered butterflies, books of unused, disintegrated parchment. The monster flows over the arms of my chair, powerless against creeping seasonlessness. There are things I think you don't want to know, things I have sometimes done. You would not believe what is in here. The white mound, the books of untended years, under those lace dreams, God, or something. Nightmare Gift, version 10. We wore no clothes. When we wore no clothes, we were forced to tell the truth. There was no need to steal because the clouds reflected the ocean. At the same time, the ocean reflected the clouds. In those years, we sat at a table carved in our initials and drank way too much. Our wood pile was high. We had meat, and when, beyond the warped windows, spring arrived, it was beautiful. A gift of swaying crocuses. We wanted to stay there at the threshold of growing up. We wanted to be praised. We wanted the silver ring, the golden ring. But the table collapsed, the ridiculous steep staircase, the barn, the chickens. We didn't dare look in the mirrors. We wanted everything except to watch one another fall. An ivory taper flickers the face at the window. You make shadow monsters roar in the light, licking the walls. They scare you. They scared you when you were still the child who penciled the proper names of flowers in looped script before clumsily pinning the slip of paper inside your cotton underwear for safekeeping. Now, with your hands quiet in your lap, the demons still roar, snaggle-toothed, gleeful, as if so very pleased to be admitted with no ticket, no demands, no grand plan to your small gallery of floating light. Perched in the silver medallions of eucalyptus leaves, two mating owls hoot. Your shawl slips into the frozen lake at the bottom of your ladder-back chair. You wait for the candle to completely melt away. Then in the darkness, you wait for morning, resting assured that you truly loved everyone you ever loved. Spider. Just waking, I watch as through midair, a being, its body, a small perfect pearl, spins from one plane to another, from soil, in fact, toward somewhere beyond all I can see. A doorway of sunlight, rain gutter, Ruth Eve, the jacaranda limb, new pods and leaves, a cloud-washed sky into which she weaves, traversing a ladder as sheer as wind through fields of air on one simple thread, too light to bear, yet tough enough to carry her well from one world to another.
Adrian Baer. Celeste Goyer. Holaday Mason.
Lovely. All right.